The governments of Tunisia and Lebanon have been recently toppled. Many think the Mubarak government in Egypt could be next. Are these events related? If so, what does it mean for the Middle East? Don't forget, the Middle East controls the world's oil. It's time for another exciting edition of Politics and Religion.
Look, there are two things I don't discuss: politics and religion.
In my house, we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion.
I'll talk to you about anything except politics and religion.
I never talk about politics and religion.
Politics determines how we'll live here on earth. Religion determines how we'll live forever. I'm Irvin Baxter. I think it's time we talk about it. Well, where all this is going to end up, nobody knows at this present time. Already we've read the reports about the toppling of the government in Tunisia, the takeover of that government by Muslim militants, and then also now in Lebanon, that government has fallen, brought down by Hezbollah, the arm of Iran in Lebanon, seeking the destruction of the nation of Israel. They now have handpicked their own prime minister for the country of Lebanon. Well, now riots, or at least demonstrations, have broken out in the country of Egypt, one of the stalwart allies of the U.S. government down there, and one of only two Arab governments to have signed a peace treaty with the nation of Israel. So everything is in a state of flux. Now let's make sure that we really understand what's going on here. You've got Lebanon installing an Iranian arm for a government. You have Hamas that's being funded by Iran. You have the destruction of the Sunni government in Iraq by the United States of America. That was the Saddam faction. So now then the Shiites are in control. However, this has severe ramifications because the Shiites are in control in Iran, just south of Iraq. Now they are coming together because their religious ties are even stronger than their national ties. You remember that under the Saddam Hussein regime, that Iraq was in an 8-year war with Iran, and about 2 million people or so were killed during that war. Well, now then, the people that Saddam Hussein was fighting against are now in control in Iraq due to our action of going in there, the United States action, going in there, taking down Saddam Hussein, and the Sunnis who controlled Iraq for many years. Now the Shiites control Iraq, they control Iran, they control Lebanon, and they control the power of Hamas in Gaza, which of course is still legally a part of Israel. So we can see the steady march of Iran, even as they defy the entire international community and continue to process uranium on their way to a nuclear bomb, according to the belief of most of the major powers of the world. So what's going to happen here? Will the U.S. sit idly by and let this happen? Now, here's what has happened so far. These demonstrations in Egypt have been ongoing now for 3 days, actually, since Tuesday. And Mubarak's defense minister made a secret visit to Washington. Let me just read a little bit of it to you so you can get a sense of what's going on here. Now, don't forget, there's a prophecy in the Bible that a war will break out in this very area that I'm talking to you about today. And then it will escalate, becoming a world war, and it will kill 1/3 of mankind. Now, it just simply has to be very sobering. when we think about what the prophecy says and what is happening right now. The United States of America, are we willing to allow all of the supposed gains that we've made, the billions we've invested, the lives we have lost, are we willing to let that all go for naught? I mean, we have 50,000 troops in Iraq today. We have 100,000 troops in Afghanistan, and it looks like this entire enterprise is all going the same way unless we're willing to make a total commitment to stop it. So the question is, what's going to happen? Now, we know what's going to happen from the prophecies to a degree. We just don't know exactly how it's going to happen. We know the Bible specifically says a war will break out from the Euphrates River area. Well, that's Iraq and Iran. That's the area. The Bible explicitly says in verse number 14 of Revelation chapter 9 that the war will begin from the Euphrates River. Verse number 15 of chapter 9, it says that 1/3 of mankind will be killed. And then it goes on in verse 16 to say an army of 200 million will participate in that war. So get the scenario in your head. It starts there. It then breaks out. 200 million, a 200 million man army will participate. It doesn't say who else will participate. So we have to think, 200 million man army, who could that be? Well, there's three potential 200 million men armies in the entire world. One is India. It's probably not going to be India. The other is China. Well, now that's a possibility. And the other is the Islamic faction. Islam claims 1.5 to 1.8 billion adherents. And they could field an army of 200 million. China has boasted openly, because of their 1.3 billion population, that they could put 200 million soldiers on the battlefield. Well, the Islamic believers around the world have more than 1.3 billion. They're claiming 1.5 to 1.8, so they are capable. So then what's the most likely between China and Islam? Well, if the war is going to break out of the Euphrates River area, who controls the Euphrates River? Every inch of the Euphrates is controlled by Islam. Will there come a time when our leaders, the Western leaders, say, look, we've been duped. We kept saying that Islam was a peaceful religion, but yet every place we're having trouble, it's where Islam is in control. Every suicide bombing of the hundreds and hundreds we've had have all been perpetrated by a believer in Islam and the Quran. Maybe we have just been deceiving ourselves, hoping that Islam was a peaceful religion, but they don't stop. So will there be a point here? This war is coming. Is it going to be against Islam? After all, they control most of the world's oil. If they didn't have oil, they'd be a non-factor in world politics. But oil cannot be ignored. It moves the world. The West has to have it to function. China has to have it to function. So the fact is, they do control the world's oil, and would we go to war if our oil supplies were threatened? You better believe we would. We absolutely would. So here we sit in this situation. Would a person like Ahmadinejad cut off our oil supply lines? I think so. Didn't the OPEC raise oil prices to astronomical heights and ran gasoline up to $4 a gallon? What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? Could they do it again? Well, it looks like it. We're to 280 something now. When Obama took office, we were at 160. So we've had a dramatic increase over the last 2 years in our gasoline prices already. So here we sit. All these things are converged. I'm simply trying, don't get mad at me. I'm just the mailman. I'm just delivering the message. But this is where you and I are right now. Oh, one more thing that must be considered. It appears from the prophecies of the Bible that the next major prophetic fulfillment is this prophecy of this war that's going to start from the Euphrates River and ultimately kill 1/3 of mankind. So, it looks like to me all the conditions are right. Do I want this war? Absolutely not. What if I were proven wrong? I've been talking about this war for a long time now because I saw it in the Bible a long time ago. I was talking about it when almost no one else was talking about it, to my knowledge. But if I would be glad to be wrong. I would hope that I've totally misunderstood this. When it says 1/3 of mankind will be destroyed, I've tried to figure out, oh, surely that can't mean 2.2 billion people. That's 1/3 of mankind. And I've tried to figure out, how could I be wrong on this, hoping to be wrong. This is just one of those things. I mean, as a prophecy minister, and I teach these things, I remember when I was teaching, the Berlin Wall would come down 21 years in advance. And everybody looked at me like I had 3 eyes in my head. And yet my phone rang incessantly the day the wall came down. What does this mean? Where is this in the Bible? What's going to happen next? Those were some of the questions. Well, now I've been talking about this war of Revelation 9, verse 13 through 21 for quite a while as well. You know, it takes a while to just get the message out. How long did Noah preach about the coming flood? And nobody believed him. He was able to convince his family. That was good. But everybody else did not believe him. But that didn't make the message not true, because it did happen. You know, you can even prove archaeologically that it happened. If you dig down between I think it's between the 5th and 6th layer of civilization, you find about 6 or 8 feet of nothing but sand and mud. Everything else is filled up with pottery and coins and ruins, and on and on and on you go. But when you get to that layer, it's just 6 or 8 feet of nothing but sand and mud, indicative of the flood that stirred up all of the earth's surface. And when it all settled down, you've got this strata that archaeologists have proven exist right now. So the prophecies of the Bible are absolutely true. This is going to happen. I'm not telling you this may happen. It's going to happen. The only question is when. Would I like for it to wait another 20 years? Yes. Is it going to? I don't see how. We are in the Middle East right now. We are involved, and the news is breaking all around us, even as I speak to you. When's it going to culminate? At what point will we reach the tipping point? I don't know. I'd like to see it wait a while. There's a lot of people that need to be reached with the message of salvation. There's a lot of people that are not ready for a war that will snuff out 1/3 of mankind. A lot of people are going to be lost that do not have a born-again experience with Jesus Christ. And that's the only place of safety. The Bible says the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and they are safe. Hey, by the way, we have a brochure. What do you mean, born again? You need to read it. I'll tell you about it when we get back from the break. I'll tell you how you can get your own personal copy, because that's what it takes to experience salvation.
Every Monday at 9 p.m. Central on the Church Channel and at 10 p.m. Central on Daystar, Irvin Baxter presents End of the Age. End of the Age is a 30-minute program which gives intricate details about how Bible prophecy is not only true, but also how it lines up so perfectly with events going on in the world right now. Don't miss one End of the Age program every Monday at 9 p.m. Central on the Church Channel and at 10 p.m. Central on Daystar. Visit endtime.com for more details or call 1-800-ENDTIME.
When you think about Bible prophecy or the end of the world, what comes to mind? War, destruction, famine, disease, 666, mark of the beast, antichrist, false prophet, 4 horsemen, trumpets, seals, and vials. What about 2012? How does all of this affect you as a teenager in today's world? Those are all good questions, but the thing to remember is that Bible prophecy was not put here for us to be afraid of it.